Air is everywhere. In the next few minutes, we'll look at 4 common places you'll find pneumatic products. In compressor rooms where the air is prepared for work, in automation processes, which is pretty much anywhere repetitive movements are handled mechanically instead of manually, in air blow and paint processes, which is basically air guns for cleaning and paint guns for painting. And last, we'll look at vacuum processes, where vacuum is used to lift or move something. The first stop is the compressor room. Because the compressor can be pretty noisy, you'll often find it in a back corner of the building, or even outside the building. The air compressor may or may not look like this one here. It may look like a big metal box, but it does the same thing. The air compressor takes surrounding air and pressurizes it so it can do work. If your customer has an air compressor in their facility, there is SMC business there. SMC doesn't sell air compressors, but you can think of SMC as everything after the compressor. The problem with air compressors is the air comes out very hot, and as it cools down, a lot of moisture condenses. If you've ever run your car air conditioner in the summertime, you may have noticed water dripping on the driveway. Moisture in air lines can cause many problems, so an air dryer is needed. A refrigerated air dryer chills the air to try to squeeze out most of the moisture before it can do any damage downstream. Another problem with air compressors is the air comes out with dust and sticky oil. These are bad news for any pneumatic components, so a mainline filter is important. Air comes in here and it passes through the filter element to trap dust and dirt. Any condensation the dryer didn't catch will accumulate in the bowl. An optional automatic drain empties the bowl even if the user forgets to. An optional element checker pops up red when it's time to change out the filter element inside. For safety, OSHA requires that every energy source, including pressurized air lines, have a way to shut off the pressure. It's called a lockout-tagout valve because it has a hole in the handle, so when it's in the off position, you can put a padlock or a warning tag through the hole. That way, somebody won't accidentally turn on the air pressure while someone else is working on the line. These OSHA lockout valves should be installed not just on the main line, but on each of the individual branch lines in a facility as well. Now that the air is compressed and clean and dry, it's ready to do some work. The first area we'll look at is automation processes. Unlike a human worker, pneumatic automation does the same thing the same way every time over and over again. Each individual work area will likely have its own air supply line, and it begins with an FRL. FRL stands for Filter, Regulator, Lubricator. Even though there's already a mainline filter, this point-of-use filter on the left catches any last debris from the piping, and any moisture that is condensed along the way accumulates in the bowl. These also have an optional auto drain, which is a good idea, because you'll find that people tend to forget to drain them, and problems follow. The regulator in the middle adjusts the pressure to what is needed for the specific process, and the lubricator on the right is not used as much today as it once was. Virtually all of SMC's components are permanently lubricated from the factory, so they don't require any additional lubrication. Hand tools, however, like air wrenches or sanders, usually require lubrication, but otherwise you may just see the filter and the regulator without the lubricator. Be sure to recommend an OSHA lockout valve too. To coordinate the different actions in a process, you need control valves to turn the air on and off at the right time. There are many different sizes and configurations to choose from. This one here is a 6-station manifold because there are 6 valves on it. This particular manifold could be used to control 6 different air cylinders or actuators. In the same way it's not good to drive your car at full speed, it's usually unsafe for the operator and damaging to the product quality to run the actuators at full speed. That's where flow controls fit in. They go in the tube between the control valve and the air cylinder or actuator, and the knob on top lets you set the optimal speed. What actually does the work are the various pneumatic actuators. Even though there are many different types, all actuators do basically the same thing. They either push and pull, or raise and lower, or turn left and turn right, or clamp and unclamp something. What you see here is a very commonly used air cylinder, and you'll find these all over the facility. Some air cylinders are bigger and have a more rugged construction for heavy-duty jobs, while other air cylinders are smaller for more compact and precise movements. In addition to air cylinders that go in and out, there are rotary actuators that turn left and turn right. These aren't always visible, but if you see a table turning left and right, you can bet it's driven by a rotary actuator. Other actuators are called grippers because they have 2, 3, or 4 fingers that open and close to hold on to something. The second area we're going to look at is an air blow and paint gun line. When blowing air on a product to clean it, and especially when painting, it's critical to have very clean and very dry air. In this example, we have additional special duty filters. On the left, there is an AMG series water separator that takes out 99% of any water droplets in the airline. Next, there is an AMD series oil mist separator, sometimes called a coalescing filter, and that takes out 99.9% of superfine dust and sticky oil that comes out of the compressor. And just like every branch line, it should have an OSHA lockout-tagout shutoff valve. Naturally, to connect it all together you need fittings and tubing. SMC's push-to-connect tube fittings have a patented design that makes them hold on to tubing very firmly without nicking or scratching the tube like other companies' fittings do. SMC fittings are like a Chinese finger trap, in that the harder the tubing tries to pull away, the tighter it's held in place. And still, it releases with a simple push on the orange ring. As for tubing, SMC offers dozens of colors, sizes, and types to suit nearly any application. In a side-by-side test comparing the SMC series VMG air gun to the competition, the VMG gun was shown to reduce air consumption by half, thus potentially saving a facility thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in electricity. You see, the VMG is just as powerful as the competitor's air gun, but it uses so much less air that the air compressor doesn't have to run as long, thus resulting in a massive reduction in electricity cost. See publication P-EO2-6A. The last area we're going to look at is a vacuum process. Many facilities use vacuum to lift paper or CDs or eggs, or to fold corrugated cardboard into packaging boxes, or to open plastic packages for tomatoes. Well, you get the idea. Like every process, it starts with an air filter regulator to keep the air clean and to set the perfect pressure. Don't forget to recommend an OSHA lockout valve. This thing is called an ejector, and it turns air pressure into a vacuum suction. Air pressure comes in here and exhausts out here. I know it looks like a big whistle, but I promise it's nice and quiet. Thanks to a venturi inside, the airflow creates a vacuum here, enough to lift everything from sheets of money at the U.S. Mint to a car windshield at an automobile manufacturing plant. The vacuum pads or suction cups do the work. On the left, you see a flat pad for lifting something rigid and level, like maybe an iPod. And on the right is a bellows pad for lifting something kind of odd-shaped or at an angle, maybe like a bag of cement. Pressure switches and vacuum switches are used all throughout a facility to make sure all of the systems are at the correct pressure. It sends out a signal so a computer on a network can monitor the whole plant or just a single machine. In a vacuum process, the vacuum switch tells when the hold is strong enough to lift whatever it is you need to lift. Now you've seen some examples of the products used in various pneumatic systems. There's a one-page PDF quick reference sheet for you to print out. Look for it on Fastnet. Please send any questions or suggestions to fastenalsupport@smcusa.com. This is what the one-page PDF quick reference sheet looks like. Thanks for watching.